when you conduct a privacy impact assessment, you need to understand the business impact as well, right? So first thing is you need to understand what does it mean to make those changes for privacy, and how does it impact your day-to-day business, as well as how does it impact the other regulations that the particular business has to be involved with, right? My name is Kiran Sharma, and I'm currently working as a Senior Privacy Program Manager at Snap Finance LLC. I was hired to establish the privacy program from the ground up because Snap Finance is based out of 3 different regions, US, UK, and Costa Rica. And we were trying to establish the program in 2021, and all we had was a privacy policy. So we just had to bring up the entire structure to the program and make sure that the program is established and run smoothly from there on. To build an effective privacy program, first thing you need to understand is understand what's driving the requirement. Is it the business requirement? Is it the regulatory requirement? So identifying the privacy drivers would be the first step to build a program. And once you identify the driver, it could be a regulatory requirement, like new privacy laws are coming, or we have a privacy policy and we need to make sure that we adhere to it. And based on that, you can build a privacy strategy, which would help you to understand the scope of the business, regions, regulations, security requirements, and as such. And then once you have the strategy, the next step would be to go ahead and get the executive buy-in. For any program to be successful, you need people, process, and technology, right? So you need the executive buy-in to make sure that you have the budget allocated, the resources are in line, everybody understands that it's a requirement that we need to adhere to. And once you have the executive buy-in based on the strategy you have built, the next step is to conduct the privacy impact assessment, understand what's already in place, what you need to do, and how do you need to approach in enhancing what you already have. So conducting a quick gap analysis or a risk assessment and privacy impact assessment will give you that idea of what you need to do. And once you have the results from the assessment, the next step is to meet with key stakeholder, present the risks, uh, because it's a marathon, right? So you cannot implement a program overnight. So what you need to understand is identify the top 3 risks and present them to the key stakeholders and get their buy-in, establish the goals, implementation plans, and then take it from there. First thing is when you conduct a privacy impact assessment, you need to understand the business impact as well, right? So first thing is you need to understand what does it mean to make those changes for privacy, and how does it impact your day-to-day business, as well as how does it impact the other regulations that the particular business has to be involved with, right? So understanding and aligning closely with business risks, such as policy and contract obligations, would definitely help identifying the top 3 risks, and based on that, you can move forward by conducting or implementing the identified risks and make sure that you mitigate those. That's a good one, because privacy is not a new concept, right? So it's been there since the Roman Empire, I would say. Like first time when there was either a windows or the curtains were invented, right? So privacy is not a new concept, but implementing privacy in a current day organization surprises a lot, because everybody understand that, hey, we need to deal with data appropriately, but getting confused with security versus privacy is the biggest surprise that I have ever seen so far. I mean, yeah, I'm encrypting the data, I'm protecting the data, fine, but why are you even using that data? Is the biggest question that arises every time I have a conversation with teams. So. I mean, just to kind of reiterate, right? So, as Richard Sierra said, if something is free, you are the product, and that's where the privacy takes over from data aspects, and ensuring that we respect the data the way we want to respect our data. So it's kind of I mean, it's always good to kind of make sure that we explain the differences between security and privacy to the teams. Security is more on the protection, and privacy is on the usage of data. So putting it in simple terms, privacy is use, security is protection, right? So that's how you start the conversation, and then basically from there on, you deviate into great, we're collecting this data, we are protecting it, fine. What are we using it for? How are we using it? Where are we using it? And should we really need this data? So projecting these questions will definitely put that difference in everybody's mind, because that's when people will start thinking, hey, why are we even collecting this data? Do we really need this data? Can we get away from not collecting this, right? So if we don't need it, don't collect it. Like I mentioned, privacy is not a new concept, and most of the time, privacy is either under legal or reporting to security. And what the biggest challenge that privacy professionals or privacy teams face is one of the challenges is, hey, legal agrees that this is how we can move forward, or this is what our policy says. So we are good to go from business aspects, and security says we are protecting the data, right? And you cannot choose one or the other, or one over the other, right? So privacy as a function should have the ability to make or help business in driving the data decisions. So that's where the biggest challenge is, making everyone understand that yes, it's a legal aspect, but still at the end of the day, if you don't build the consumer trust by protecting or by utilizing their data in the way that we are mentioning in our privacy policies, then there are chances that we might lose the business itself, because the digital trust, or as they say, is more important for the consumers these days. So some of the challenges that we face is explaining that separation of duties from legal and security. Uh, when privacy by design concept was tossed, right? So basically working with the development teams to make sure that they understand what data is being collected, how they are processing the data, and working with the development teams right at the product development stages is a little bit tough. So shifting left is always helpful in engaging the development teams or the technical teams, because once we have already collected the data, now the only options that you have is protecting that data, right? So if you shift left a little bit and start talking to these teams at the architectural phase, the design phase, then privacy by design as a concept can be implemented by using data minimization techniques and anonymization techniques. Because once you build the product, making the changes is always costly, and the cost grows exponentially. So that's where having that concept and making sure that you're aligned with the agile release trains, and making sure that you're involved as a privacy professional at the design phase would definitely help. And providing training and awareness to these development teams, so that when they're writing the code, they can understand that, hey, if I'm collecting the data, at least let me think about anonymizing it or probably masking the data so that I don't display the whole thing or encrypt the data or obfuscate the data in the backend. So some of the concepts will definitely help. I mean, one thing I would say is achieving success in a privacy program is a marathon. It's not a race. You need to be patient. You need to understand the business. You need to make sure that everybody is trained, providing these awareness, and building the privacy champions across different verticals in the business will definitely help, right? So as a security industry, as any other industry, we all face a resource crunch, and making sure that you're not fighting alone. Build those privacy champions across the teams, so they can be your voice, and they can enhance the privacy of your product or your organization by talking on behalf of you, right? So they can, because you cannot be present everywhere in every meeting or every release cycle. So what you can do is by building these privacy champions, you're giving an opportunity for everybody to raise their concerns and make sure that the privacy is at the forefront of the technology innovation. So as we've recently seen in the news, like Meta getting fined, and a lot of companies, even FTC is going, is going in terms of providing the fines or levying the fines. So I would say more privacy regulatory fines are going to happen in 2023, because everybody's trying to understand what these regulations mean, and CCPA has given ample amount of time. GDPR has given ample amount of time for people to understand and rectify. So one, I would say privacy regulatory fines. Watch out for those. And two, children and healthcare data take center stage, because uh, protecting children's data would be the key for any organization, and especially in the online space or internet era that we are in. Children have more access to the technology these days. Having a 7-year-old at home myself, I'm worried what he's watching on an iPad or on a phone, right? So children's privacy and even healthcare data is protecting that would be the key. So there will be more regulations or more uh, you know more regulatory requirements coming up in these aspects. And the third one would be, as we all heard, keep listening about artificial intelligence. So watch out for the AI dark patterns. So that would be the third one, I would say. Usually, last year, what we did was we kind of provided some training, or sent out some flyers across, and uh, building that training and awareness is the key. So on a on privacy day, we usually try to send out these notifications or even the flyers or even some kind of announcement to people to make sure that they understand that we have a privacy policy and what does it mean to you and how do you protect your data. um, and we also distributed, in the previous organization, we distributed the cam protectors. So basically you have you can protect yourself from the cams. So you can just put a sticker around it and all that. So building the training and awareness is the key, because that's what makes everybody understand. We all know that in the internet space, once you share it, it's out there forever. Just make sure that you understand the risks of sharing or oversharing the data, and your data is gold. And data drives these days. So it's basically you need to ensure that you're not giving up or your privacy just for the technology enhancement, or probably just for ease of use, right? So